When we look at children playing, we see joy, energy, and life. But sometimes, hidden in plain sight are signs that something is not right. A child who looks smaller than others of the same age, sweet little boy who tires too quickly after a short run, a lovely little girl who is not growing the way they should. These are not just differences in size or personality. They could be warning signs, quiet signals from the body that something is missing. Malnutrition doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it shows up suddenly. Other times, it develops slowly over months, even years. And most serious forms are wasting and stunting. Wasting happens when a child becomes too thin for their height. It is often the result of a sudden shortage of food or illness that weakens the body. In a short time, a child can lose weight rapidly, their body using up its reserves just to survive.
There's undernutrition. We know that chronic malnutrition results in stunting. You're shorter than your expected height for age, right? And that means you've been chronically not eating well. So stunting is weight for height, height for age, which is less than 3 standard deviations. And it's a marker of extreme starvation. Like you've not been able to attain your maximum height for your age, simply saying. And you need to understand that there are things that cause short stature, familial short stature. And there are people who are short people or small people. Those are short. There are many syndromes that would make somebody be short. But the stunting we mean is if this person has no abnormalities whatsoever, but the cause of their shortness is because of lack of enough food.
Normally, stunting starts with underweight. It starts with a child being underweight. When I say underweight or wasted, a child is too small for their height. And stunting is a form of malnutrition, but it's a form of long-term malnutrition. Children just don't get stunted. If a child has a diet that is deficient in protein, because remember I said protein is a growth food. If the body is deficient in protein for a long period of time, the body is going to prioritize looking after itself now to height. And so you have a child who looks okay, but they're stunted because for a long period of time there was a deficiency of mainly protein. So the body prioritized staying alive and okay to growing tall. And so that's why we have children who are stunted. And sadly, when you have a child who is stunted, because these things follow through, that child sometimes gives birth to a stunted child and it just becomes a lineage of people who are stunted. And then we say it is genes. But no, not at all, not at all. And still, in most cases, you can't see that from home. It still has someone has to go and do the measurements of the height and the weight, and then you read on the Z scores or the BMI for age scores, and then we can let you know. But in most cases, it starts with being underweight. Again, you're underweight because you are taking in little for what your body really requires.
So those body measurements are used. We combine them to come up with what we call indices. So by looking at your height, for example, if you're an adult, by looking at your height and weight, we work out a BMI, body mass index, and then we can know your nutrition status. We rank it whether you're okay, normal, overweight, obese. Yeah, it's the same for children, but we will not talk about BMI in children, but we use what we call Z scores. So these are like standards, WHO, World Health, UNICEF standards. But the basics is that we will need to take your measurements, the weight, the height, and then we use that to determine your nutrition status. So that's how we are able to know that this child is stunted, this one is normal, this one is overweight, this one is obese, based on the measurements.
Please, parents out there, do not just look at the immunization card and think that it's only for immunization. It contains a lot of information for your child, the growth monitoring or growth faltering for that matter. And if you see that your child is on a straight line, it means they are not growing. If they are growing in a good curve along the growth chart, it means they are growing normally. But if there's a dip in their growth, that means they are losing weight. And if that faltering of weight is very fast, that means there's something wrong. And losing weight rapidly means either that this child has a chronic illness or is not feeding well, or we need to investigate. Or perhaps the food you're giving is not of good value.
And we do this through mass screening. So you go in a community, if you have indications, there are indicators that maybe somewhere in Kamwenge, the situation is not good. So we'll go in that community, do mass screening, pick up the numbers, and then we'll handle them based on the severity, like I said. So if they are not yet malnourished, we counsel, we educate, and do that package. If they are malnourished, then we do nutrition support and counseling.
When a child who is wasted may appear visibly thin, their ribs may show, they may feel weak, tired or uninterested in play, stunting tells a different story. A stunted child may look sick, they may laugh, play and may go to school like any other child, but inside, their growth has been limited. Stunting can affect how a child learns, how they concentrate, and even how they perform in school.
As children are growing up, and I want to put this as an emphasis, that the more protein you're giving to them as they are growing before the age of 3 years, the first 1,000 days conversation, it's so relevant, because if you don't feed your child properly as they are growing up, then you're going to affect their cognition, their ultimate brain function. So children need a lot of protein. They need eggs, they need milk, they need the meat, the beans, and then the carbohydrate diet, which we have a lot, from posho to maize flour to wheat flour to matoke to cassava. It's a lot, right? However, as we feed our children, we must balance. We must ensure that they are also getting in the zinc, the iron, the copper, the magnesium, the manganese. All those things are also vital to their growing up bodies.
Well, dealing with having access to nutritious food for children is something that should be our priority throughout the country, throughout Uganda. But obviously there are pockets where the situation with regard to malnutrition is more concerning than others, and we're speaking about the Karamoja sub-region, we're speaking about the Toro sub-region as key areas, as well as the districts that are hosting refugees, where obviously a continuous attention for ensuring access to proper nutrition is key.
The government is pushing for agriculture. Like, everybody is literally a farmer. And even at the back of people's yards, people are growing things in jerry cans, in sacks, in all that. And they are growing green leafy vegetables, they are growing potatoes in sacks. People are being encouraged to do home farming. But also in the market, there are things that come fresh from the farm. We are very fortunate as a country. Like I mentioned, we are a food basket. We have all the available foods that people would need, from groundnuts to beans to peas to meat to fish, to all those proteins are available. To grasshoppers, people like stock on grasshoppers and eat them, and that's healthy protein. But also for the carbohydrates, we have so much.
And unlike wasting, the effects of stunting are often irreversible.
And I just want to say that stunting is not reversible. It is not reversible. You cannot reverse it. Once your child is stunted, you missed it, and you missed it, period.
A child may eat, but not eat enough of the right foods. A child may fall sick often and lose nutrition faster than they gain them. A family may lack access to clean water or proper health care. All of these factors shape how a child grows. Unfortunately, the youngest children are the most vulnerable, especially those under 5 years of age, and most critically, those in the first 1,000 days of life. During this time, the body and the brain are developing rapidly, and without proper nutrition, the effects can last a lifetime.
So good nutrition is when you are eating healthy. And if you're talking children, you're thinking, what's the best fast food that a child should eat? And that's breast milk. It contains everything that a child would need, including proteins, water, vitamins, essential immunoglobulins, so babies start with breast milk. And as babies grow, we would like to see that they get enough protein in there, they have enough carbohydrates to give them energy, but also to have the necessary micronutrients and essential electrolytes. So as children grow even bigger, it's important for them to have a balanced diet. And that's the good nutrition that we talk about. Organic food straight from the garden to the table, instead of having over-processed food that would harm them in a way, and then having multi-colors of food on their plate. Not the color of the plate, but the food on the plate. The orange and green, giving them the minerals and the vitamins, and then water, and then having a protein source, and then carbohydrates.
Preventing wasting and stunting begins long before the signs appear. It starts with everyday choices, feeding children a variety of foods, breastfeeding in the early months of life, introducing nutritious meals at the right time. Wasting and stunting may not always be obvious. They don't always come with loud warnings, but their impact is real and far-reaching. The earlier we can recognize the signs, the sooner we can act. Because every child deserves more than just to grow older, but to grow strong, to learn fully, and to reach their true potential.